Good afternoon, friends. So, today I'll be covering this very important topic in the light of extensive usage of this drug tocilizumab. I'm sure many of you would have heard my previous talk on cytokine storm, where we debunked the whole evidence about raised interleukin 6 as a target by using this drug. And we concluded that at least in COVID, the type of interleukin 6 surges has not been seen to an extent that justifies the usage of this drug, at least from the evidence. So, this is what we saw in the previous talk. So, today, what I will do is I will try to review all the studies so far that has come in tocilizumab usage in COVID situation and see whether are we really justified with the available evidence in extensive usage of this particular molecule. So just to look into briefly what this whole IL-6 receptor antagonist tocilizumab is all about. See, this interleukin 6 cytokine is a pleomorphic inflammatory mediator that is predominantly produced by monocytes, lymphocytes and fibroblasts. And in SARS-CoV, so the COVID virus basically will enhance the production of IL-6 by the bronchial epithelial cells. So this is the way your IL-6 levels is purported to go high in SARS-CoV virus. So this is the first article that I'll be talking. This came in Chest. As you see, it's the tocilizumab treatment for cytokine release syndrome in hospitalized COVID-19 patients. The title is Survival and Clinical Outcome. So all the studies that I would be talking, you would notice they are predominantly observational studies or small case series. So as of now, there is no robust randomized controlled trial to ascertain the utility of tocilizumab. So this came in Chest Journal on 28 June 2020. So today is 19 July, so it's just about few days back. So they had 239 patients, and here they categorized these patients into severe disease and non-severe disease. This is in general. The whole 239 patients, when they looked at in this particular US study, they categorized into severe and they tried to see whether there's any difference in survival in severe and non-severe. And obviously, as you see, survival is less in severe disease as compared to non-severe, which you would expect that was significant. And the people needing mechanical ventilation was very high in severe disease. That also you would expect. There is no rocket science in this. And non-severe, it was 5%. That was statistically significant. And obviously, severe disease, when they get ventilated, they stay on ventilator for a longer time, which was shown 5.5 days median mechanical ventilation days versus 1 day, which is static. So there's no huge sense that you can make out of this particular. They have just categorized between survivors and non-survivors and seen whether there is any difference in survival and ventilation. But what is important is this slide. So they have used tocilizumab in both severe and non-severe. That's why this the previous table becomes important. So in 153 patients out of 239, they used tocilizumab, and they compared the severe disease and non-severe. And as you see, when they looked at survival in severe disease where tocilizumab was used, and in non-severe disease where tocilizumab was used, the survival there was no difference. So basically, your hypothesis that I will use tocilizumab in a severe patient, considering that it will favor survival, that doesn't seem to have happened, at least in this particular study. And they looked at mechanical ventilation survival in this whole group. So they saw the survival was 75%, that was a 95% confidence interval. They looked at oxygen requirements, CRP and interleukin 6 levels. So they did improve in tocilizumab. In this group where tocilizumab was used compared to the other group where tocilizumab was not used. So oxygen did improve, CRP did improve, IL-6 did improve. But on the contrary, D-dimer and interleukin 2 levels were increased where tocilizumab was used. So basically what you can, if you are looking at survival in severe, saying in, okay, my patient is getting sick, I would use tocilizumab and it may have be helpful in getting them better. This study at least does not show that effect. If you have used in severe disease tocilizumab, it did not show great benefit. So that is what this particular study has shown. So this is the second small study that came from IDSA, Infectious Disease of Society of America, compassionate use of tocilizumab for treatment of SARS-CoV pneumonia. So this came in June 2020. So this was a small case series. So 27 patients, they used 400 mg IV. So there is no comparator arm in this. They saw that in patients who got tocilizumab, It did lead to reduction in the inflammation, did lead to reduction in oxygen requirement, did lead to reduction in vasopressors, did lead to reduction in mortality, did lead to reduction in CRP and W. There's no control arm. It's just a case series where they believe that tocilizumab did show some benefit with regards to these variables. Okay, so this then we look into this other study. This is also a small study, hydroxychloroquine and tocilizumab therapy in COVID-19 patients. It's an observational study. This came by US group in June 2020. So this study was done predominantly in New Jersey. So this was the data. So they had 547 patients. 134 patients got tocilizumab, 413 did not get tocilizumab. And if you looked at survival, it was 54% in tocilizumab and 44 that was not statistically significant. So it's a small observational study. You can't read too much into the strength of evidence, but as you see, there was no huge survival benefit even when tocilizumab was used in this study. So this was another study, tocilizumab for treatment of, this was use of tocilizumab in the sickest of the patients where they were mechanically ventilated to see whether it had any beneficial. This was a positive study. So this also came by the US group. So 78 were in tocilizumab group, 76 were in did not get tocilizumab. They looked at death and they looked in patients who were mechanically ventilated. There was 45% reduction in the hazard of death. So this is a positive study which basically tells tocilizumab did help in reducing the death. As you see, hazard ratio was 0.55, that was statistically significant. And they looked at the clinical status on an ordinal scale and they saw there was a significant improvement in the clinical status on an ordinal scale. Odds ratio was 0.59, so that was also significant. So this was in the tocilizumab group where they saw the clinical status improvement was there and death reduction also was there. But what they again found in this study, which is something which all listeners need to bear in mind, is there will be another study which I will show you. There was a significant increase in the risk of infections secondary, because we know tocilizumab is an immunosuppressant. In Indian situation where we have a big problem with MDR, XDR, so this becomes a very important problem when we use these biological agents, because the risk of secondary infections definitely have to be kept in mind when you are considering usage in COVID pneumonia, because that may be unforgiving in our patient. That just keep that in mind. So the risk of secondary infection was 54% compared to 26% in no tocilizumab. That was statistically significant. But they looked at case fatality rate in these patients who develop secondary infections. So these patients who develop secondary, they looked at 28-day case fatality rate. There was no difference between tocilizumab and no tocilizumab, which means that they did have secondary infection, but obviously the mortality did not contribute to mortality. Obviously, they were treated well and possibly there. So that is the gist of this particular study. So if you look at any evidence today for tocilizumab, I think this is the largest study that one can find. So this came in Lancet. This is an Italian study. Again, this is a retrospective study. So as you saw, all the previous studies, they're small observational studies of 27 patients and a few hundred patients as observational. So this is the largest study. It's a retrospective study by Italian group. Came in Lancet on 24th June 2020. Tocilizumab in patients with severe COVID-19 retrospective cohort study. So here they had 544 patients, so 179 in tocilizumab group and 365 in the standard group. So this was also a positive study which favors the use of tocilizumab. They looked at the need for mechanical ventilation in patients who got tocilizumab, and as you see, it was 18% versus 16%. That was not statistically significant. They looked at death. Death was significantly less in tocilizumab group of 7% when compared to standard of 20%. That was statistically significant. And again, compared to the previous study, the risk of new infection was significantly higher. So you have two studies which convincingly tell you that the risk of secondary infection is high when you use tocilizumab, and that was also statistically significant. But mechanically ventilation need, when they adjusted with age, sex, SOFA and symptom duration, then even that became statistically significant. The adjusted risk of mechanical ventilation, the adjusted hazard ratio was 0.61, and that became statistically significant when they adjusted for all these other confounders. And this is very important. I want all listeners, when you go through this whole manuscript, I was very keen to see whether they looked at interleukin 6 levels. So they had a control group and a treatment group, and the median interleukin 6 in the treatment group was higher compared to the control group. That was statistically significant. and the median interleukin 6 was 238.3, and this is the interquartile range was 140 to 730. So which means there was 25 to 75 fold increase in the interleukin 6 level, where it conferred some benefit in this particular Italian study. So that is something which we could keep in back of mind, that, and the group which got tocilizumab had higher interleukin 6 compared to the group which did not get, that was statistically significant as well. So again, it draws home the point that maybe it's worthwhile to look at interleukin 6 levels as covered in the previous talk, and maybe it is worthwhile to see multi-fold increase, up to 100-fold increase, to justify oneself to consider its usage, because that is where maybe it may confer some benefit. So that is what I want listeners to keep in mind. And after this study, there was another Italian study. So now you will see all the negative studies coming. You had another Italian study with 126 patients, where they stopped after recruiting one third of the patients, because the authors or the investigators did not find any benefit with the use of tocilizumab. So as you see, these are all the previous studies. Now the newer studies, this Italian study did not show any benefit, and they had to stop the trial. Okay, so these are small case series. This came from the Qatar country, Qatar. Tocilizumab for the treatment of severe coronavirus. So this was a small case series of 25 patients. Median age of patients was 58 years. 92% of the patients were males. And the findings that the authors have captured is that use of tocilizumab led to reduction in inflammation, led to reduction of mechanical ventilation requirement, and led to radiological improvement. So this is a case series. You can't make much out of it, but authors did find that they had some benefit in using this tocilizumab. So this was a Chinese study that came very early on, 3rd March 2020. This is a National Health Commission, People Republic of China. So there's no journal, it's just there on the website. 21 patients, 18 patients were male, and the findings the authors capture is oxygen requirement improved where tocilizumab was used, lymphopenia, which was existent, normalized, and 19 patients were discharged at 15.5 days. So these are all case series. You can't make much out of it. So some value of use of tocilizumab only comes from that Italian study, which is the largest, and maybe to some extent in this mechanically ventilated, this particular study where they looked at mechanically ventilated. So these are only two little robust studies where they have looked at tocilizumab confers some benefit. So now, so far you have seen these are all observational studies, retrospective and case series. So what happened to randomized control trial? That is the question that should linger in our mind. So they did embark on doing a randomized control trial. So this was a randomized control trial which was a industry sponsored, Sanofi sponsored trial, where they used a similar agent called sarilumab, and Regeneron and Sanofi begin global Kevzara clinical trial program in severe COVID. So this was a randomized control. This was an attempt to do a randomized control trial with a similar analog of tocilizumab called sarilumab. So the plan was to compare sarilumab 400 mg versus placebo. So this was a double-blinded trial, and the plan was to include 400 patients across 16 US sites when they embarked on doing this trial. So the outcomes the investigators looked at, they divided the outcomes into two parts. The first part, they looked at fever resolution and improvement in the need for supplemental oxygen. And the second set, they wanted to look at the death, reduction of mechanical ventilation, improvement in the oxygenation, and reduced in the hospitalization. So these are the two outcome parts they had in mind. And what did they find? So if you look at, there is no published data on this. This trial began, so it is not published. You could see only the interim findings on the website. Otherwise, you don't get much details about this study. In essence, what they found is when they compared, 194 patients were mechanically ventilated. When they compared between mechanically ventilated and non-mechanically ventilated patients, where the sarilumab was used, there was no difference, and there were negative trends in the patients with non-mechanical ventilated. And this trial possibly has been stopped and it has not been published. So we believe that it is a negative trial and it did not show benefit in sick patients with COVID where sarilumab was used, and there were negative trends in patients who were not ventilated. So this is the only randomized controlled trial that was attempted, and I do not have access to the full data of this particular randomized controlled trial. So what are the awaited trials? So awaited trials are, these are the COVACTA, which is tocilizumab plus standard of care versus standard of care. So this is awaited trial where they are using tocilizumab, which is a randomized controlled trial. Then there's a REMDUCTA study, which is remdesivir with tocilizumab, and there is a EMPACTA study. So these are the three randomized controlled trials that are awaited. So to conclude, as of now, there is no evidence from randomized controlled trial to justify its usage in our sick COVID patients. If you are really looking at a core evidence, there is no strong evidence at this point of time to justify our usage in sick COVID patients. Current data is only limited to observational, retrospective, and case series. So my submission at the end of reviewing this literature is the verdict is not out. So at best we could say tocilizumab used to be limited to selective cohort of patients where interleukin 6 is at least 100 to 200 fold higher. Even there we aren't sure, because if you have to subscribe to that Italian study at least shows us that it did show some benefit in patients where interleukin 6 levels were up to 75 fold higher. And even the previous data from tocilizumab, if you look, I think it is at a supranormal levels of interleukin 6 where it has shown some benefit. So along with it, I would add only interleukin 6 levels may not be indicative that you should be using. Along with concomitant trends in worsening of inflammatory markers, maybe your CRP is going up, ferritin is going up, LDH is going up, and deteriorating clinical condition. I think this would be a distinct cohort of patients where one could consider as a hypothesis generating sort of a attempt and make their own observations to justify its usage, and absolutely make sure that there's no underlying secondary infection, because we have seen from the Italian study and from that US study that risk of secondary infection significantly increases. Don't undermine the risk of secondary infection, especially in our Indian situation where we have a huge problem with MDR, XDR bugs. So at this point of time, there's absolutely no reason for us to be overwhelmed with the usage of these biological agents. Yes, they may have a role, but as you see, the randomized controlled trial that was attempted has turned out to not be very favorable or has shown to be negative. And even the subsequent, so the previous studies, although they did show enthusiasm, the subsequent trials, the Italian study, if you see, they had to stop because there was no benefit after recruiting one-third patients. So I would say, so hold on your discretion until you get this Covacta, Remdecta, and Impacta trials. Maybe they will throw more light like any other agent. So we've had multitude of agents trying to target the cytokine pathways, all have failed miserably. I would think this particular biological agents also would see the light of not showing great benefit by it. So my only attempt is not to indiscriminately use this drug. Use this in a very select patients where you have a sick COVID patient who is deteriorating despite all your measures with worsening inflammatory trends, and definitely IL-6 is maybe 100-fold higher or 200-fold higher. Maybe there may be small benefit. Otherwise, at this point of time, the observational studies or retrospective studies so far that are there are not very convincing enough that we can use it as a standard of care. Because the reason I say this is there's a lot of WhatsApps where people are giving individual opinions saying that tocilizumab has been really a game changer. I think one has to underwhelm this whole enthusiasm, because this molecule is expensive. It does increase the risk of infections, and the data is not robust enough at this point of time. And more so, we are getting newer agents, and people are pushing the newer agents. So we have to be extremely cautious and try to be very selective in determining which patients you would be using it, and be guarded and make your own observation. So I would just show you this forward. Again, another graph which is floating in different groups. So as you see, this is interesting because dyspnea in 40% of symptomatic patients starts at day 7 is what is mentioned. So the first week becomes very critical for us to follow up on the symptoms of these patients. So thank you very much. So I'll end with this quote. So when the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the student is truly ready, the teacher disappears. Thank you very much.